Let the Red Sea show its redness. Let the Red Sea show its redness with its blood-tainted waves. Let the Sahara spill its guts to show the bones of its corpse. Let the minefield display remains of the body parts. Triggered by hate, fear and paranoia, bordering insanity. Constructive chaos as a roadmap to liberty. An offer so attractive, a shortcut to the crown. Yesterday's victim, today's middleman, serving the nation to the century-old ambition. As vultures shadow the sky for crops, greedy smugglers hungry for victims, high-ranking officers and nomads alike ransom money to spare a helpless life. Vanished in the sea, the ocean and the desert, somewhere in the Sahara, human heart is on the market. A cruel punishment victims are subjected to endure for the heartless evils worthy of dead and alive. No one to help, no one to rescue, no witness to the cruelty. Let the Red Sea show its redness with its blood-tainted waves. Let the Sahara spill its guts to show the bones of its corpse. Let the minefield display remains of the body parts. The never-ending war. For every dead soldier, countless friends and relatives' grief, to some remains a permanent scar. So it seems no more killing, yet it lingers in every living soul. When the numbers began to mount and community disintegrate, society begins to gloom on its intensity, results of utmost cruelty. The never-ending war and its nightmare plague the nation and disrupt its course. Those who can left the country, those who cannot held on to the misery. One by one, and no one escaped, dead, maimed and displaced. Nation's innocence has been robbed, collective psyche of survival emerged, war songs and dance over the dead, and the decorated hero was just a child. Pretension and fear takes over, victory celebrated in partial forms, loved ones' days cause for joy to others, sorrow and despair avenged to the winners. Misguided hope and deceptive slogans in the name of salvaging our souls, the conflicting message of dissenters, from peace seekers to hostile actors. The resistance was not meant to be. It must have been taught from the day intrusively appeared to revisit in my subconscious mind. While contemplating the meaning, a sudden surge of awakening that a crime has a strange connection to the conscience of the innocent. When declared war and hostility submerged, trapped in the mindset of vengeance, compassion and care thinks of the past, suffer in silence as we all fall apart. One by one things seems to fade, vision and hopes deferred, once detested began to flare when nation stripped his honor. The resistance was not meant to be to choose our masters from our oppressors, declare war on progress and destiny, produce more refugees and community in disarray, develop a detached diaspora with evil spirit, denounce collective identity and borrow alien concept. From the never-ending slavery, hoping to be free, dodging bullets and mines, risking death to flee, the resistance was not meant to be. Lived as orphans and flee as adults. The movement was known for its ingenuity, schools for the orphans and cared for the needy, limited resource and boundless dedication, shocked the world and began to excel. Under difficult circumstance and reality, you and her managed to bring victory. Confidence gained and people were ready, build on success to repeat history. Abandoning the host to serve the new nation, to fulfill a dream, risk all with no reservation. Health workers, entrepreneurs and educators flock to the land for the nation building projects. Scholars, nationalists and investors included. A strategy designed and financiers approved. Euphoria filled the air, exodus to the promised land, favored by the big and the diaspora to lead. Freedom brings hope from years of despair. The nation awakened to work its miracles, determined to achieve what has been lost, hope to compensate for difficult past. Only to realize the freedom was not meant to be free, and replaced by the flag-carrying tyranny. the desire to emulate Singapore and Malaysia to an open-air prison and compared to North Korea. The wish to be the beacon of civilization result in isolation from regional and global institutions. The hope for the youth to emerge as the backbone of the society turns to a regular news as a headline story on every tragedy, as the untouchables and the unwanted elements lived as orphans and flee as adults. When you think all is well, when might failed to bring order and the resistance can't deliver, passion and vigor lost its course to an open crisis and frozen conflicts. When anger and emotion takes over, greed and vengeance spread like a fire, tweaking, twisting, dancing and daring, rage so powerful, fluid and engaging. When you think all is well, thoughtless conditions rise again. When you know the motivations, they retaliate and justify their actions. Vividly remember the evil of the past, no better than the present. Witnessed humanity at its worst, hoping to see it at its best. Tragedies that awoke the dormant, wise men neglected to point it out. Simple truths twisted and stretched, enlightened advice deliberately ignored. The malaise, the cause and the intentions, to an absurd and desperate assertions. Voyages and dreams of drowned victims, movement with self-serving notions. As the aloof laid, loyalists pretend, knowing at the end they'll be ahead. Sham unity preferred and endorsed, urgent action dragged and prolonged. Children of immigrants reverse the trend. Friends and foe tear down the invisible fence. Be free, unrestricted, with courage and care. Remember the darkest day in September. At that moment of silence, I drift. Image lasts forever with deep scarred memories. I shout, I scream, yearn for soundless changes. All remains the same, blurry and clouded illusions. Moments imprinted for life as a genetic curse. At that moment of silence, I drift, briefly visit thousands in 100 jails, dignity stripped in the dungeons, years past, hopeless and helpless, cowardice crowned when courage suffers. At that moment of silence, I drift. I found myself swimming with dolphins. Their sad eyes tell countless stories. Drowned babies hang on to their mothers, from last gasping breath to departed souls. At that moment of silence, I drift to the overcrowded refugee camps, unsuitable for human conditions. Risk worth taking, considering the options, through stormy seas and hostile lands. At that moment of silence, I drift, desperate attempts at the mercy of smugglers, used and abused and sold to harvesters, to fulfill the request for the rich man's needs, organs extracted as vultures take their shares. At that moment of silence.